Realism, critical realism, relativism. One reality exists. Multiple realities exist. Reality can be understood using appropriate methods. Reality captured by broad critical examination. Realities exist as multiple, intangible mental constructions, no reality beyond subjects. Epistemology. Epistemology is concerned with the nature of knowledge and ways of knowing and learning. About social reality. Way of looking at the world and making sense of it. Crotty, 1998. The study of knowledge. Epistemology, how do we create knowledge? Epistemology, how do we create knowledge? Positivism, constructionism, subjectivism. One reality exists. Multiple realities exist. Meaning exists with an object, an objective reality exists in and independent of the subject. Meaning exists within the subject, subject imposes meaning on an object. Meaning created from an interplay between the subject and object. The subject constructs reality. Of object. Meaning exists within subject. What does this mean though? Different views and debates about the kind of knowledge and truth. And different methodologies and frameworks that we employ to generate psychological knowledge. Your ontological and epistemological assumptions guide and justify your choice of methodology in all research. Why is this important? Understanding philosophical positions can improve our research. Ontology and epistemology are philosophical perspectives that inform beliefs and action. These perspectives reveal assumptions we make in our research. Leads to better /informed choices that guide all design choices. Increased clarity. My ontological and epistemological assumptions. I take a relativist and social constructionist view of psychological phenomena that I study. I adopt the position that reality is constructed within specific, localized contexts. Differs from more realist approaches. Individual as perceivers and focus rests on underlying structures of psychological phenomena. Or experience. Central feature, theoretical importance of language. What does this mean for how I conduct research? Influences how we conceptualize a topic / concept. For example, sexuality and gender. Research question / aim. For example, how do teachers construct sexuality and sex within sex and relationship education? How do SRE teachers organize their discourse around sexual diversity? Analysis. For example, discourse analysis. Outcome / knowledge generated. For example, focus on teachers' discourse, not their beliefs, attitudes or motivations. What does this all mean for how we research? Guides what you can say about your data and how you theorize meaning. Knowledge claims / how you theorize meaning. The difference. Essentialist / realist approach can make claims about motivations, views, opinions, experiences and perceptions. Constructionist / relativist approach can't theorize about motivations or individual psychologies. Instead, focus on constructions, representations and language practices. Final thoughts. Being aware of our philosophical approaches / positionings is important. What are your ontological and epistemological standpoints? How does your philosophical standpoint affect your ideas about psychological knowledge and your research? Reflexivity. Reflexivity in psychological research. The contextual nature of qualitative research calls for researcher reflexivity. Research is a subjective process. Qualitative research values subjectivity and reflexivity. Strength of qualitative work, not weakness. History of objectivity being valued in psychology can make the process unfamiliar / challenging. What is reflexivity? Examination of one's own beliefs, judgments and practices during the research process and how these may have influenced the research. Finlay, 1998. Form of critical thinking. Articulates the contexts that shape the processes of doing research and the knowledge. Produced, Lazard and McAvoy, 2018. Consider the implications, possibilities and limitations of researching a topic a certain way. Tuval-Mashiach, 2016. What is reflexivity? An awareness of the researcher's construction of meanings throughout the research process. An acknowledgement of the impossibility of remaining outside of one's subject matter while conducting research. Reflexivity then urges us to explore the ways in which a researcher's involvement with a particular study influences, acts upon and informs such research. Nightingale and Crombie, 1999, 228. What is reflexivity? Two types of reflexivity, Willig, 2008. Personal reflexivity, how we as the researcher influence and guide research. Epistemological reflexivity, reflection around the assumptions underlying the research and that shapes the way the researcher thinks about the research. What is reflexivity? Wilkinson, 1988, distinguished between two types of reflexivity. Functional, critical attention to the way research tools and process may have influenced. Personal, the researcher's identities, subject positions, assumptions and values. Personal reflexivity. Personal reflections that define your social position. Age, gender, ethnicity, sexual orientation, socioeconomic background. Consideration of our role in our research. Investments we have in it. The relationships we have with our participants, texts, or the research field. Insider and outsider positions, Galais, 2008. Shapes the process and the knowledge generated. How-to tips. Keep a research journal. Record your thoughts, feelings and reflections about your process. Reflexivity can feature in the method and discussion section of a report. Own your perspective, Elliott et al., 1999. Role your values and interests have played in the process of collecting and analyzing your data. And / or shaped the research. Use of personal pronoun I. Why is reflexivity important? Increases the credibility of findings. Helps to evaluate the research and credibility of the findings. Deepens understanding of the work and the broader processes of knowledge production. Dowsey and Morthner, 2006. Important for researchers to acknowledge cultural, political and social context. Ways these influence research. Why should we care? Researchers affect outcomes of the research. Despite claims of objectivity in research, subjectivity becomes relevant to producing certain knowledge. Central in establishing rigor in qualitative work, Tuval-Mashiach, 2016. Helps to counter issues of power and authority in research. Closeness has value and can help to bring into focus on perspectives marginal to mainstream thought. The treatment of women and LGBTQ individuals in psychology. Conclusions. Engaging in reflexivity can be powerful. Helps to change research practices. Rethink research methods. Community participatory research. Collaborate with people who have a range of characteristics. ensures psychological research can support social justice issues. Challenge the taken-for-granted assumptions that have curtailed psychology. Inclusive. PSY 5046, Qualitative Research Methods and Analyses. Week 1, Introduction to the Module. Dr. Debbie Earnshaw and Dr. Sam Parker. Deborah.Earnshaw@pq.ac.uk. Samuel.Parker@pq.ac.uk. Staff. Module Coordinators. Dr. Debbie Earnshaw, Deborah.Earnshaw@pq.ac.uk. Dr. Sam Parker, Samuel.Parker@pq.ac.uk. Teaching Staff. Dr. Keeley Abbott, Keeley.Abbott@pq.ac.uk. Dr. Josie Cornell, Josephine.Cornell@pq.ac.uk. Dr. Samantha Martin, Samantha.Martin@pq.ac.uk. Carolina Kokokinska, Carolina.Kokokinska@pq.ac.uk. Introduction to the Module. The purpose and nature of qualitative research. The design and implementation of qualitative approaches. Specific considerations we have to be aware of. Strengths and limitations of approaches and analyses. Attend lectures and make notes. Attend workshops and engage. Ask questions. Read the recommended resources. Complete the assessment to the best of your ability. Learning outcomes. 1. Demonstrate understanding of qualitative methodologies, including underlying rationales. 2. Design, construct and carry out a small-scale qualitative research project. 3. Apply a qualitative analysis to produce an appropriate interpretation of the data. 4. Synthesize and appraise research findings in relation to existing literature and recognize subsequent implications. Week. Lecture topic. Reading. Workshop topic. 1. Introduction to the Module and Qualitative Research Methods. Braun, V. and Clark, V. 2013. Successful Qualitative Research, A Practical Guide for Beginners. Chapters 1 and 2. Introduction to the Assessment and Choosing a Research Question. 2. Creating a Qualitative Project. Braun, V. and Clark, V. 2013. Successful Qualitative Research, A Practical Guide for Beginners. Chapter 3. Literature Searching. 3. Ethics in Qualitative Research. Braun, V. and Clark, V. 2013. Successful Qualitative Research, A Practical Guide for Beginners. Chapter 3. Writing a Literature Review. 4. Interviewing and Focus Groups. Braun, V. and Clark, V. 2013. Successful Qualitative Research, A Practical Guide for Beginners. Chapter 4. Devising the Interview Schedule. 5. Introduction to Thematic Analysis. Deadline, Formative Lit Review, Mon 16th. Braun, V. and Clark, V. 2006. Using Thematic Analysis in Psychology. Qualitative Research in Psychology, 3, 77-101. Justifying Your Methods. 6. A Practical Guide to Thematic Analysis. Deadline, Ethics Quiz Assessment and Interview Schedule. Ethics Review, Friday 27th. Braun, V. and Clark, V. 2013. Successful Qualitative Research, A Practical Guide for Beginners. Chapters 8, 9, 10 and 11. Justifying Your Methods, 2. 7. Researcher position, recorded video no on-campus lecture, private study week. Braun, V. and Clark, V. 2013. Successful Qualitative Research, a Practical Guide for Beginners. Chapter 2. No workshop used this week to conduct interviews once interview schedule approved. 8. Other data generation methods. Braun, V. and Clark, V. 2013. Successful Qualitative Research, a Practical Guide for Beginners. Chapter 5 and 6. Transcribing and Coding Interview Data. 9. IPA. Willig, C. 2013. Introducing Qualitative Research in Psychology. Chapter 8. Analyzing Data and Identifying Themes. 10. Discourse Analysis. Willig, C. 2013. Introducing Qualitative Research in Psychology. Chapter 10. What do your findings mean? Writing up the analysis. 11. Evaluating and reflecting on qualitative research. Braun, V. and Clark, V. 2013. Successful Qualitative Research, a Practical Guide for Beginners. Chapters 11, 12 and 13. Synthesizing Information, writing the discussion section. 12. Dissertation and beyond. Deadline, research report, Friday the 15th of December 3 p.m. N/A. Summarizing your report. Assessment 1, 90%. 3,200 word research report, worth 90% of module mark. Carry out a piece of qualitative research interviewing 2 participants. Choose a research question from the list provided and devise a list of interview questions. Get ethical approval for your interview questions before you conduct your interviews. Analyze your interview transcripts using Thematic Analysis, Braun and Clark, 2006. Write a full research report, abstract, literature review, methods, analysis, discussion, which reports the findings of your research project. Deadline, Friday the 15th of December, 2023, 3 p.m. If you have a support summary you receive 7 additional working days, so the deadline is Wednesday the 3rd of January, 2024, 3 p.m. Assessment 2, 10%. Ethics quiz on Moodle, worth 10% of your module mark. Answer 10 questions about ethics in research. 3 attempts, highest mark counts. Questions are random, so not necessarily the same on each attempt. Available to complete from Monday the 9th of October. Deadline Friday the 27th of October, 3 p.m. If you have a support summary you are entitled to 5 additional days, meaning that your deadline is Friday the 3rd of November, 3 p.m. When you have completed the ethics quiz you will then be able to submit your interview schedule for ethics review. You must not conduct your interviews until this has been approved on Moodle. If you do not complete the quiz you will not be able to do your interviews and therefore will be unable to complete the research report. Workshops. Each week you will also have a 2-hour workshop, starting in week 1. The workshop is the time for you to be working on your project and writing your report with the help of your tutor. Use this opportunity to ask your tutor questions about what you are working on. If you are not able to attend, make sure that you complete the activities for that week so that you keep up to date with the module. There are no lectures, workshops or seminars in week 7, which is your private study week. Key dates. Monday the 16th of October, 3 p.m., Formative Literature Review deadline. Monday the 9th of October, Assessment 2 Ethics Quiz and Ethical Review submission points open. Submit early. Week 7 Private Study Week, no lectures, seminars or workshops. Friday the 27th of October, 3 p.m., Assessment 2 and Ethical Review deadline. Friday the 15th of December, 2023, 3 p.m., submission deadline for your report. You must also submit your consent forms by this date. Wednesday the 3rd of January, 2024, 3 p.m., support summary submission deadline. Monday the 22nd of January, 2024, release of provisional marks and feedback. All times are UK time. What will you need? Recommended resources: Braun, V. and Clark, V. 2006. Using Thematic Analysis in Psychology. Qualitative Research in Psychology, 3, 2, 77-101, available on BCU Library Search and Google Scholar. Braun, V. and Clark, V. 2013. Successful Qualitative Research, a Practical Guide for Beginners. London, UK, Sage, Library has physical copies only. Howitt, D. 2013. Introduction to Qualitative Methods in Psychology, 2nd ed. Harlow, UK. Prentice Hall. Lyons, E., and Coyle, A. 2007/2016. Analyzing Qualitative Data in Psychology. London, UK. Sage, Library has physical copies only. Willig, C. 2013. Introducing Qualitative Research in Psychology. London, UK, McGraw-Hill. Education. Read qualitative research articles regularly, for example examples in workshops. What is your favorite ice cream flavor? Go to www.menti.com and enter code XXXXXXX to tell us the UK's favorite ice creams. Why? Quantitative measures and statistics can tell us a lot, but often they don't answer the question of why or give us reasons for people's preferences, behaviors, perceptions, experiences, etc. Qualitative research does focus on these types of questions, and this is what you will be learning about in this module and doing in the research you carry out for the assessment. Break 10 minutes. Introduction to Qualitative Research. What is qualitative research? It's rich, exciting and challenging in lots of ways. It captures the complexity, mess and contradiction that characterizes the real world, yet allows us to make sense of patterns of meaning. Braun and Clark, 2013, 10p. Investigation of knowledge through meaning and communication, data, collected and analyzed in various ways. 3 basic frameworks: searching for patterns, looking at interactions, or looking at stories. These can be made up of textual or spoken words or observations, ethnography. The basics. About the processes and ways people think about things. How do they make sense of something that has happened, is happening, or will happen to them? How do they do these things? How do they understand these things? Concerned more with individuality, much smaller sample sizes for authenticity and more in-depth understanding. Flexible with data but are concerned with details. Working with data to find answers, not taking the answers straight from data. Have our own guidelines to follow, ontology and epistemology. Ontology. Nature of reality, being, or existence, the relationship between us and the world. What is the essence of being? What makes anything real? To be, or not to be? Is the world separate from our understanding? The belief that there is an external objective world that can be known through research. The belief that an external objective world is inaccessible and we can only know the world through our representations of it. Critical realism. Epistemology. Nature of knowledge, justification and belief. What counts as valid or trustworthy? How do we know what we know? What constitutes as knowledge? Is knowledge discovered or is it created? What is general, average or representative, free of context and is objective? What is specific, unique or deviant, bound in culture, time and context and is interactive? Socially constructed. So, which do you go for? You will need to know where you stand on both. It doesn't mean one is better than the other, but it will matter depending on what knowledge you seek. Asking and answering, what kind of knowledge am I interested in hearing? Example, I am about experiences. How do people experience and understand this? I lean towards relativism. External objective world is inaccessible and we can only know the world through our representations of it, and constructionism, culture, time and context. Dependent, that is interactive, so the knowledge I seek is that the world is part of our knowledge, and that we create it. Method or methodology. Method, specific tool or technique for collecting, generating and analyzing data. Example, interviews and surveys are methods of collecting data. Thematic analysis is a method of analyzing data. Methodology, broad framework of which our work is conducted in. Example, consists of theories and practices for how we conduct research, so tells us what is appropriate and what is not, such as how can participants be selected, what is the role of the researcher, and what methods of data collection are appropriate to study this phenomenon. What is data? Naturalistic attempt to generate and collect data in more lifelike ways. Data collection, interviews, focus groups, surveys, diaries, debates, physical media, newspapers/magazines, web forums, documentaries/TV shows, and conversations. Methods for data, story continuation, photo voice/photo elicitation, scenarios, activities. Production of data, collection or generation. Collection, taking from available data, for example magazine articles/TV shows/blogs. Generation, actively creating or initiating the data, such as Q&A in an interview, making a collage or discussions around imagery. Subjectivity and reflexivity. Research is a subjective process. We will somehow have an impact, but we acknowledge this and know it is good to do this. We understand our impact through bias and influence, not reliability and validity. Being reflexive. Critically reflecting on our involvement and impact on the knowledge we produce. Functional, related to our research tools and processes. Personal, seeing how we as researchers can influence our data production. Problems. People think it's easy in comparison to quantitative. They also think it is fluffy or unscientific. Quantitative researchers dipping their toes and not considering the ontological and epistemological viewpoint and attempts to restrict the processes, content analysis for example. Differing journals have different ideas, so research can be skewed. Try to read proper qualitative articles in qualitative journals, and make sure they are psychology/sociology/nursing. Lack of consistent teaching has meant lack of knowledge. You are lucky to have a dedicated module. Abbott and Earnshaw, 2020. Summary. Module. Formative Lit Review, 500 words. Deadline Monday the 16th of October, 3 p.m. Ethics Quiz, 10%, must be completed by Friday the 27th of October, 3 p.m. Interview schedule must be submitted for review by this deadline too. 3,200 word research report, 90%, due on Friday the 15th of December, 2023, 3 p.m. Support. Summary deadline Wednesday the 3rd of January, 2024, 3 p.m., and consent form must be submitted. Qualitative. Enriched data. Appreciates the deviance and similarity. Flexible and subjective. Researcher position influences data. Recommended references. Braun, v. and Clark, v. 2013. Successful Qualitative Research, A Practical Guide for Beginners. Sage. Braun, v. and Clark, v. 2021. Thematic Analysis, A Practical Guide. Sage. Howitt, D. 2013. Introduction to Qualitative Methods in Psychology, 2nd ed. Prentice Hall. Lyons, E., and Coyle, A. 2016. Analyzing Qualitative Data in Psychology. Sage. Terry, G. and Hayfield, N. 2021. Essentials of Thematic Analysis, Essentials of Qualitative Methods. American Psychological Association, APA. Willig, C. 2013. Introducing Qualitative Research in Psychology. McGraw-Hill Education. Used references. Abbott, K. and Earnshaw, D. 2020. Double the Challenge, Reflections on Supervising Qualitative and Critical Dissertation Projects. Psychology Teaching Review, 26, 1, 33-38. PSY 5046, Qualitative Research Methods and Analysis. Week 2, Creating a Qualitative Project. Dr. Deborah Earnshaw. deborah.earnshaw@pq.ac.uk. Planning. Data. Collection. Generation. Recruitment. Factors. Questions. Assumptions. Title list. How long do you spend planning? Planning. Research is a planned activity. Every project must be designed. Fail to prepare, prepare to fail. This module assessment research question. Think broadly. The theoretical framework. The research question, RQ. Ethics. Method, S. Why must we plan so much for psychological research? Question for you. Choosing, planning, what's your focus? What burning question do you wish you could answer? What are you most interested in, psychologically? How do you think you could go about researching this? Choosing, planning, what's your focus? Topic. Is it new, novel? Are you building on previous research / knowledge? Why this area? What will it add? How has it been studied before? Is it a replication? Am I attempting to confirm? Questions to consider for all research. Planning research. What do I want to know? Why do I want to know this? What assumptions am I making? What type of data would best answer these questions? What type of data could tell me what I want to know? How much data will I need? Will I generate or collect data? How? Who do I need data from? How will I access or recruit them? How will I analyze my data? What factors do I need to consider? Number 1. Theoretical position. What is knowledge? Where do you fit? Where does your research fit? What do I want to know? How do I want to know this? Ontology. What exists in the social world? Study of what is and of reality. What can know about the world? How can we know this about the world? Realist. Critical realist. Relativist. Theoretical frameworks, ontology. Realist. One reality exists and can be observed. What can we see? What can we understand from observing? Critical realist. Multiple realities exist but focus can be on one. Critical examination can capture reality. Power structures and hierarchy are in play. Relativism. Multiple realities exist and cannot be observed. Individuals and groups have realities together. Must be invited in to observe and understand. Epistemology. The nature of knowledge. How do we know what we know? How do we make sense of the world? How do we create knowledge? Positivist. Constructionist/constructivist. Subjectivism. Theoretical frameworks, epistemology. Positivism. One reality exists. Independent from the subject. What is average? What can be generalized? Constructionism/constructivist. Multiple realities exist. Codependent with the subject. Interaction between individuals, groups and collections. Subject constructs reality. Subjectivism. Meaning exists within subject. Codependent with the subject. The subject imposes meaning onto object/reality. Why do we care? Knowing how you are approaching knowledge. Equals guidance for your research. Equals allows you to focus on the key aspects. Equals answering your research question appropriately. Equals reader understands what you have done. More on this in week 7 recorded lecture. 5-minute break. The bad news is time flies, the good news is you're the pilot. Michael Altshuler. Me. Choosing, planning, what's my focus? Topic. Is it new, novel? Nope. Are you building on previous research/knowledge? Kind of. Why this area? Personal interest. What will it add? Better understanding of why people reach out to mediums, how they view and understand mediumship, if accuracy is necessary or important, and how this can be managed in a world of fraudsters. How has it been studied before? Quantitatively and usually just for accuracy. Is it a replication? Nope. Am I attempting to confirm? Nope. My research. What do I want to know? How do people understand mediumship? Why do I want to know this? I want to know if it's for comfort, actual belief, a social concept, or for confirmation. What assumptions am I making? Ontology and epistemology. Function of mediumship is a construct and not something I can view but must be understood from others. What type of data would best answer these questions? What type of data could tell me what I want to know? How much data will I need? Will I generate or collect data? How? Who do I need data from? How will I access or recruit them? How will I analyze my data? What factors do I need to consider? Number 2. Guiding research. How can we perform research well? Research questions. Not a hypothesis. Guides our pathway and analysis. Action-oriented and open-ended. How do students understand their university experience? What makes students feel like they belong? This photo by unknown author is licensed under CC by NC. What does a good research question look like? Outlines the specific topic. Identifies the potential analysis. Demonstrates who the participant sample is. Is not a yes or no question. Cannot be answered with one word. Published research questions. What leads to success in the change process from a client perspective? Skerman and Mulmayermansil, 2016. How do people come to terms with the death of a partner? Goldsworthy and Coyle, 1999. How do women's identities change through the transition to motherhood? Smith, 1999. What behavioral variables relate to, explain, and allow us to understand anomalous phenomena? Escola-Gascon, 2020. We're going to have a go. 15-minute break. Believe you can and you're halfway there. President Theodore Roosevelt. Number 3. Data generation. How do we perform and conduct research? Research question, to research method. Knowledge of investigation equals appropriate research method. Data collection or generation. Ethical considerations, common sense. Example research question, how do UK university students understand their friendships? Generation, interviews, focus groups, narratives. Collection, secondary sources such as forums, Reddit. Topic. Data production. Experience. How do people come to terms with the death of a partner? Goldsworthy and Coyle, 1999. Interviews, face-to-face and virtual. Focus groups. Diaries. Secondary sources, for example personal blogs. Understanding perceptions. How do women's identities change through the transition to motherhood? Smith, 1999. Interviews, face-to-face and virtual. Focus groups. Qualitative surveys. Diaries. Story completion tasks. Secondary data sources, personal blogs, autobiographies. Representation. How do magazines construct female sexuality through their depiction of male and female sexuality? Farvid and Braun, 2006. Secondary sources, newspapers, magazines, billboards. Identity. How do trans men construct and manage their change of gender identity in relation to the reciprocal roles? Zitzit al., 2014. Interviews, face-to-face and virtual. Focus groups. Qualitative surveys. Participants. What data do we need, and from who? How many? No set rules, but it depends on topic and analysis, so please review qualitative literature. Where will recruitment take place? What is feasible? Thematic analysis, 620 participants for individual interviews, 1054 generated text. Stories etc., or 10100 for secondary sources, forums etc. Braun and Clark, 2013. IPA, usually between 4 and 10 participants for individual interviews, Smith, Flowers and Larkin, 2009. Discourse, 620 participants for individual interviews, 620 participants for individual interviews, 1054 generated text, stories etc., or 10400 for secondary sources, forums, etc. Braun and Clark, 2013. Focus groups, between 6 and 24 participants overall. Participants. Different types of sampling, qualitative usually purposive to select participants based on the level of data they can provide information-rich, Patton, 2002. Topic dependent. Exploring men's experiences of masculinity means only those who identify as men can participate. Exploring British men's experiences of masculinity means only those who identify as men and are British can participate. But if I decided to explore white British cis men's experiences of masculinity, then only those who were born as men, are white and are British can participate. Are the participants representative for the topic, or a diverse sample if being specific is not needed, or are they the usual suspects? Recruitment. Ease of access depends on topic and method. Always plan with plenty of time. Niche participant samples will be difficult to access. Establish relationships. Extra participants. Ethics will need to be considered. Reapplications happen. How do we recruit? Advertisements, public spaces, think toilets, newspapers, TV, radio, websites, in-house. Usually noticeable, brief outline of study and has contact details. Word of mouth, physical, electronic and social media. Recruitment. Compensation. Costs that may need to be covered. Travel expenditure. Small and practical, for example, a small denomination voucher. Prize draw, for example, win a £100 Amazon voucher. BPS advises against advertising compensation. Why? My research. What do I want to know? How do people understand mediumship? Why do I want to know this? I want to know if it's for comfort, actual belief, a social concept, or for confirmation. What assumptions am I making? Ontology and epistemology. Function of mediumship is a construct and not something I can view but must be understood from others. What type of data would best answer these questions? Interviews 1-2-1 would be suitable. What type of data could tell me what I want to know? Interviews, as I need to understand their understanding. How much data will I need? Will I generate or collect data? How? Generate active participation as related to understanding. Who do I need data from? People who have visited a medium. How will I access or recruit them? Social media, advertising at spiritual churches. How will I analyze my data? What factors do I need to consider? 5-minute break. Creativity is intelligence having fun. Albert Einstein. Number 4. Analysis. Which one do we choose? Choosing an appropriate analysis. Ontology and epistemology. How are we seeking knowledge? How do we want to capture this knowledge? Data-driven, inductive, or based on theory? Deductive. Thematic analysis, theoretically flexible, shallow, pattern-based analysis. This can be inductive, data-driven, or deductive, theory-driven, and so can fit across the continuum. IPA, philosophically grounded, In-depth, ideographic, pattern-based analysis. This is inductive. Data-driven, and focuses on experience. So is generally relativist and constructionist. Discourse. Whilst approaches to discourse analysis vary, analysis is generally inductive, data-driven, and focuses on how language is used in particular social contexts. As such, it is generally relativist and constructionist. However, there are some that can fit across the continuum. Braun and Clark, 2013. Topic: Data production, analytic strategy, experience. How do people come to terms with the death of a partner? Goldsworthy and Coyle, 1999. Interviews, face-to-face and virtual. Focus groups. Diaries. Secondary sources, for example personal blogs. Interpretative phenomenological analysis, experience of grief. Thematic analysis. Discursive psychology, constructions of grief. Understanding perceptions. How do women's identities change through the transition to motherhood? Smith, 1999. Interviews, face-to-face and virtual. Focus groups. Qualitative surveys. Diaries. Story completion tasks. Secondary data sources, personal blogs, autobiographies. Interpretative phenomenological analysis, experience of motherhood. Thematic analysis. Representation.